start a little review. We were talking, of course, about we come to love people because when we give them, because we become invested in that person, and giving to a person means that I, so to speak, put myself into that person. So when it says love your neighbor as yourself, I love my neighbor as myself when I give him because he becomes me. I've invested myself in him or her, I should say. I invest myself in her. And so therefore she is part of me. I feel that way very much with my students. I invest myself in my students so they become part of me and I love them. And it's always surprising to me when they leave, and some of them don't even say goodbye. And it's a little shocking. And they don't keep, and I'm thinking, don't you? I mean, but I loved you, but I loved you. But I realize I loved them because I gave them. And they could say, bye, mom, see you around, because they didn't give me in the same way. And when you invest in someone, you love that person. Danielle, it's nice to see you. You look beautiful. Okay. So, um, so when you invest in someone, you love them. And they again, unless they invest in you, they're not going to love you in the same way because they didn't put themselves into you. They didn't give to you. And
But that's still not okay. I think you need to give a muster that they need to say goodbye.
I do, Miriam, but they don't listen. But anyway, you know what they think? I'll tell you the truth. What they think is, oh, I'm not so important. She doesn't care. That they think that. So I've just kind of learned to like realize it's about them and not about me, about their own self-esteem, sadly. But oh, Elizabeth, you're here. So nice. Wearing
Hello.
white clothes there in the Caribbean. That's nice. Okay, so here we are. So if I give someone, I share in his being. When I share in his being, then he becomes me. And then I can fulfill the mitzvah of love your neighbor as yourself. Because I can actually come to love anybody I give to, I'm going to love. And that's why he also says, Rav Dessler, that if we just realized that by giving to strangers, they would no longer be strangers. We would be invested in them. They would be part of us. And so we can do that with every Jewish person. He's not a stranger to me. He's important to me, and I can give to him. Okay, we're going to start a new section called Love Between the Sexes, man and woman, just in case any of you were like a little curious what that meant. Okay, like a little political humor.
Today it's a problem.
Today it is a problem. Today it is a problem. But I heard something very interesting I'll share with you if you don't mind me being a little not PC in a bit. And that is, okay, the love and affection, which often prevail between man and wife, are something remarkable in human psychology. At first glance, we might think that this love has no personal content. Perhaps it is merely something implanted in us by the Creator as part of his deep-laid maintenance for the plan for the maintenance of the world. In other words, the fact that man and woman love each other, man and wife love, or husband and wife love each other, you might think that's part of nature. You get married and you love, right? You might think that's part of let's say people have a sexual desire. So they also have a desire to love. So it's implanted, much like as we said before, that part of the love of a mother for a child is implanted in her. She's given the love when she's given the baby. But Rav Dessler says, even though we might think that about marital relations, it's not true. It's not implanted in us by God, that love for each other. Because we might think it's deep laid, just as hunger is given to us to ensure the preservation of the body, meaning God makes us hungry, so we'll eat. We'll eat preserves our body. So maybe he makes us love, so we'll have children, or so we'll support each other. But that is not so. That is not true. It's unlikely. To achieve this end, the biological urges of physical desire and yearning for children would suffice. Meaning, I don't have to love my husband to have a baby. I don't have to love, I can crave children God could plant in me a natural desire to have children, I have to be married, at least in theory. And therefore, what's the point of this additional emotional attachment? I have heard it said that this love arises from gratitude. Two people are grateful to each other because they help each other to fulfill their natural instincts. Meaning that maybe I love that person. I have an instinct to have children. I have an instinct for sexual union. And so therefore, maybe I love this person because I have that instinct, and that's part of my instinct. Um, and so to fulfill my natural instincts, therefore I love. But Rav Dessler is going to continue and say that's a mistaken idea. But this idea is mistaken. There are plenty of ungrateful people. No, did I? Yeah. Okay. There are plenty of ungrateful people in the world, but we do not find that husband-wife affection is necessarily lacking in their case. Meaning that human beings can be ungrateful, lots of ungrateful people in the world, and that gratitude is not what leads to love. Like, again, the world thinks that if I'm grateful to you, I'll love you. Rav Dessler is saying no. Rav Dessler is saying gratitude doesn't make me love you. Gratitude means I love me. And you gave me, and I love me. Right? And so maybe that's why, I love you. Says Rav Dessler, no, gratitude doesn't lead to love. So a wife might be grateful to a husband for washing the dishes, but she necessarily won't love him because of that. Or a husband might be grateful to a wife for making dinner, but that's not going to make him love her. What's going to make them love each other is that they give to each other. And as long as they are giving, they will love each other. And when they stop giving, they will not love each other. Okay. We must say that this love arises between husband and wife because they complement each other, means each one fills in the need of the other. Now, again, I might think, so I love my husband because he fills in what's missing. And he loves me because I fill in what's missing. You might think that, but that is not the case. The opposite is the case. I love my husband because I fill in what he's missing. He loves me because he fills in what I'm missing. Meaning that giving to the other is what makes us love each other. It's not the getting, it's the giving that brings love. Questions? That's pretty clear, right? Pretty clear.
Sometimes you actually don't like someone because they give things to you, because they give to you. Like you said in the beginning, that maybe you're grateful to them or whatever, but sometimes it's the opposite. Like, I wish you would stop doing that for me. It makes me so, annoyed, or I have to thank him, or, whatever.
So that's right. So therefore, if I want to maintain my love for anybody, or I want to build my love for anybody, any relationship, he's using husband and wife, but it's really any relationship, then I have to give. And not only do I have to give in a way that I choose to give, not that I'm forced to give. In other words, let's say I take out the garbage because I'm forced to. Well, no, that's not going to bring love. What's going to bring love is if I volunteer to take out the garbage. Now, it could be like in my case, in my house, taking out the garbage is a male task, right, dear? Right. So this is kind of how it goes in my house. I take the garbage because he doesn't notice. I put it near the door, right? Then he takes out the garbage. Now, he could say to himself, she's forcing me to take out the garbage. Bye, sweetheart. He's forcing me to take out the garbage. But that's not what he does. What he does is he says, oh, my wife left the garbage by the door. I want to take it out because I want to make her happy. Now, the only difference there is attitude. He could take it out because he's forced to, or he could take it out because he wants to, right? I would say the same for me. I could do in my job laundry is a women's job, right? I could do the laundry because I have to, or I could do the laundry because I want to give. It all depends on my decision and my attitude. Do you follow? Now, the truth is, male and female generally complement each other. We usually marry somebody who has skills we don't have, or or something to give that we don't have, right? So we complement each other. But I love because I give, and that is how it is in human relationships. Um, we, we we must rather say that love arises between husband and wife because they complement each other. This fact flows from the nature with which the Almighty has endowed them. Alone, each person is defective and unable to carry out his proper function. I could say, for instance, you can't have a baby alone. You need a partner. Like, he needs to give something and she needs to give something. Like, there's a natural instinct, but right, I can't do that by myself. Right? Okay. I do realize there's like technical ways around this today, but I'm really presenting an idea, and I'm sure you're aware of that. As our rabbis say, he who has no wife is not a complete human being, because you complement each other, you add one to the other, and by giving each other this completion, they come to love each other. On the principle we have already established that the one who gives loves. Of course, their love in its turn will make them want to go on giving. And the pleasure and happiness which each bestows on the other will maintain and intensify the love. Now, oftentimes what happens in marriage, you start out pretty good, I want to give you. And then after a time, it becomes transactional. It becomes like a business. You take out the garbage, I'll do the laundry. But I did the laundry, but you didn't take out the garbage? What? And it becomes transactional. When it becomes transactional, when it becomes a business deal, there's no love. And then there's even annoyance and upset because, listen, I did my job, you didn't do your job. So therefore, the giving has to be unconditional. It's not, I'll do the laundry if you take out the garbage, but rather, I'll do the laundry because I want to give. Do you follow? And I have to own that in myself. Now, obviously, none of us can own the other person, ever. But I can own myself. If I want to love, I have to give. Okay, questions? Okay, we'll go on. On this basis, we can understand yet another remarkable fact. Why do we find so often that this husband-wife affection does not seem to last? People get married, they're in love, it's so wonderful. And even, look, some people have a very hard beginning. We used to say Shana Rishona was 1 year, now we say it's 5 years. And sometimes they have an easier beginning. It's true, because people have to learn. You know why, Nancy, and everybody else? Because people don't know how to give. They don't know how to give. They want to get. And so, and also because they don't necessarily read each other so well. They don't, what does the, not just what do I want to give, but what does that person want me to give? Like, what is it that person needs? That takes a long time to figure out. Or, maybe my husband needs me to shut up on a certain topic. Could be, but I don't know. You feel what I'm saying? So it's a learning process. But even if everything starts out great, and it's great, sometimes after 5-10 years, things get worn out. 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, I don't have to tell you, it gets worn out. So how does that happen? That it gets worn out, that marriages that maybe had very good times end up to be very unhappy? He gives us an answer. When the answer is simple, people are generally takers, not givers. By nature, I want. And so in the beginning, when we're in love or when things are going great, so I want to give. I give. But eventually, unless I'm watching myself, I will revert to my natural self, which is taker. Like a baby that comes out of the womb, that, what are you giving me? And what are you giving me now? And so I will revert to that. If I'm not consciously trying to give all the time, I will revert to taking. Now, but before, when their biological instincts, that is the need to get married, can gain the upper hand, they become givers and lovers. I give you, I love you, because because my biological instincts are informing me of what I need to do. But before very long, nature relaxes its grip and they relapse into a state of taking as before. This change takes place imperceptibly. You don't notice it. Previously, they were joined together in an atmosphere of love and mutual giving. From now on, they are takers once again, and each begins to demand from the other the fulfillment of his or her obligation. When demand begins, love departs. Okay, so as long as I'm in the mode of giving, I'm going to love. As long as I'm thinking I want to give, what can I give? What can I give today? Can I give a smile? Can I give a laugh? Can I give respect? Can I give a little compliment? Can it give and it's little things, like just seeing what the other person, it's not little seeing, but what does the other person need? Maybe the other person just needs a pat on the back. And why can't I do that? Why is it so hard for me to say, you're so clever? Why is it so hard for me to say? Or I'm going to ask you to do that because you're so much better at it than I am. Why is that so hard to say? Or I trust your instinct. But somehow we get into but I could do it better. And we become like takers. I want to be in control. I want to be in charge. And that again is probably a natural thing in man. That's what he says. It's natural. But we want to be not natural. We want to be above nature. And that requires us always to ask, what can I give? Right? So somehow most parents do that with their children. A lot of wives and husbands, spouses, forget to do it with each other. I'm not saying every mother gives and gives unconditionally to her child. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's more natural though, because my child is an extension of myself. When it comes to a spouse, oftentimes I forget that is a necessary part of building a marriage. Questions? Does it ring true? Right. And also, those of you who are married a long time also know marriages go through cycles. You have your ups and your downs and your ups and your downs. And what gets you through those downs is giving. Just keep giving. Just keep going. Have a long-term vision. Right? Okay. This is why I always say to a couple, the joyousness of their wedding day, filling your hearts at this moment is a wondrous desire to give pleasure and happiness to each other. Take care, my dear ones, that you strive to keep this desire always as fresh and strong as it is at this present time. You should know that the moment you find yourselves beginning instead to make demands upon each other, your happiness is at an end. Now, Rav Dessler, lived in 30s and 40s, 50s, right? So he saw couples that wanted to give. I live in the year 2000s, and I see couples that want to take. That's what I see. What am I going to get? What am I going to get from this marriage? What am I going to get from this girl, from this boy? What am I going to get? Instead of what am I going to give? Now, again, you have to know you have a partner. I'm not saying you could to marry anybody. I'm the last person in the world to say that. But marry someone you want to give to. Marry someone you want to give to. So there's attraction and there's excitement and there's pleasant conversation and chemistry. There's chemistry. There's good middos. But then you have to want to give. And I find people today don't know that. They're thinking, what can I get out of marriage? Marriage is going to make me happy. It's going to make me happy. because he's going to love me. It's going to solve all my problems. That's what women think. It's going to solve all my problems, going to fill in my emptiness, going to make me happy. You'll be happy when you give. You'll be happy when when you make yourself happy. You'll be happy when you accept the other person. You'll be happy. Do you follow? Because none of that other stuff works. The taking doesn't work. And part of the reason is it's going to never be enough. We as human beings are never satisfied until we stop ourselves from being dissatisfied. Okay, there are some people who do not want to enter into marriage. This is because they are unable to shake themselves free of the power of taking. And even their natural instincts, meaning the sexual desire, cannot turn them into givers, even temporarily. So there are people who don't want to get married because they don't want to have to give. They don't want to have to give in. They don't want to have to satisfy someone else. And so they'd rather not get married, right? And even their natural desires that God plants in us, so we will want to give, that's not even enough for these people. There are also couples, he says, who have as few children as possible, a very prevalent phenomena in our time. Such people are outstanding specimens of takers. They do not want to give even to their own children. To sum it up, the best relationship between husband and wife will obtain when both achieve and practice the virtue of giving, when their love will never cease and their lives will be filled with happiness and contentment for as long as they live on earth. Now, you can't make another person give, but you can make yourself give, and you can make yourself want to give. And usually when you give somebody, they respond. Now, if you're thinking, I'm going to give, and then he has to respond, that's not going to work. If you say, I'm going to give because I want to be a giver. And I think this, if you ask me what the most thing I got out of this essay when I first learned it 25 years ago, was being a giver is about what I want to be when I grow up. I want to be a giver regardless of what you do. You want to give me back? Great. I'll say thank you. You want to give me back? I'll appreciate it. You want to say goodbye when you leave the school? I'll feel good. But if you don't, it's okay. You walk into my office, Miriam, the first time I say to myself, right, I'm going to give this girl, and if she gives me back, great. If she doesn't, it's fine. And that's kind of a deal I made with myself when I learned this essay. Okay, so someone says here, it implies that the only reason someone does not want to get married is because he doesn't want to give. And she says that's not true. And I could see that it's not true. People have all different kinds of motivations. But I think what they're speaking about is a particular period of time. But what should I say? Like, I know people who were so ambitious in their career that they don't want to have to share that with someone else because it was, feeding themselves, and they were happy with that. So I think he's talking more about people who, it's a certain type of person, right? Now, obviously, also there are people who don't meet the right person to get married to. That also happens. But he's not talking about those people because those people generally do want to give. And unfortunately, they didn't meet the person to give to yet. Hopefully they will. But the idea is clear. The idea is that people don't want to enter into relationships where they are stuck giving. That even the marital relationship is something that God, so to speak, traps us into by giving us biological urges and instincts. Right now, that's certainly true of men, by the way. You may, as women, this may not resonate with you, because I think women by nature are more giving. Again, it's part of our biology. But by men, part of their biology is God creates instincts in them where they have to get married to fulfill those instincts. And in that relationship, they learn to give. You understand? I think we spoke about this a bit last week, didn't we? Is this class we spoke about it in? Okay, great. Okay, okay, so I'm finished with that topic unless you have more questions. Okay, so now he's going to speak about ambition. He's going to speak about ambition. Ambition is, okay, we'll see what his definition is. Everyone admires the ambitious person. People do their best to educate their children to be full of ambition and drive. It has even been said that ambition is life itself, but is that correct? In other words, okay, so ambition is I want more. I want more. So it could be I want more intellectual pursuits. I want more money. It could be I want more success, right? Ambition. I want to create a better mousetrap. Right?
Kavod.
I want kavod. Now, right. So now, yeah, you was saying now that men don't have to get married, we do have a problem. It's true. It's a real problem. It's a real problem. And it's
But you can have ambition for the right reason, for the right things, right?
Who said that?
Nicole.
Nicole, yes, of course. You can have ambition for the right things. So ambition is nothing more or less, right, that ambition is more, can I say that? I'm going to say what was said by her. I don't know if she wants me to say her name, but it's depressing when older men are past their childbearing years, or older men wanting women who are in their childbearing years. Yeah, we're moving on anyway. So if you're having a hard time, don't worry. We just changed the topic. So, but that is true. By the way, I have always found, and I know there's at least one person here who I've experienced this with, who experienced this when she was single, that men want younger women to have babies. The truth is, a man who wants to get married is not going to. A man who really wants to get married will get married to someone who's older because he wants to give. Right. So Leslie, I learned this from you, right? But men who say, but I just love children. That's why I want someone 20 years younger than me so I can have 10 children. That person doesn't want to get married. That person wants to get. I want to get. Not a divorce, but I want someone to give me. I'm a taker. Those people are takers. The people who really want to give will look at the person, right, with not the age, not the womb, right, and want to give, right? Do you follow? So that you just have to know that. That's I learned that because I saw so many of my older students suffering. So many men would say, "What?" But no, it's just I love children, and they. I know it was horrible. But then I met real men who wanted a wife to share with and to give to. And they were happy to marry women their age because, they have a lot in common. So I just learned you got to hold out for that guy who wants to give, just like you want to give. Okay, is that better, everybody? We're more comfortable? Okay. All right, we have all the different kinds of people here, and I don't want to ignore anybody. Okay, so, that's a different question. Somebody has a question about lying about your age. In halacha, you are allowed to lie about your age. That's true. But it's not necessarily recommended. You can, if you feel it's helpful. Only because once a person knows you, they'll want to marry you. And then they won't care about the age. You say you're 38 and you're really 40. Once they know you and they went out with you, they're not going to care. That's not going to make a big difference. And that's really, that's really the truth. Okay. Yeah, Linda, I was also looking for older women for my sons, to be honest with you, always, because they were more mature and they could make a living. I always thought that was important, I don't know, because my sons wanted to learn. So I thought, well, if you want to learn, you need someone who actually has a job or knows how to have a job or, can do a job. Okay, so But ambition is hunger. Now, Nicole said you can be hungry for good things. Yes, you can be hungry to learn the Torah. You could be hungry to be a righteous person. You could be hungry to do chesed. 100%. 100%. That's the end. Now we're going to the beginning. The beginning is ambition is hunger. Hunger. A hungry person craves food, and an ambitious person craves the objects of his ambition. If the objects of my ambition is money, I'll crave money. If the objects of my ambition is food, I'll crave food. If the objects of my ambition is intellectual stimulation, then I'll crave that. In other words, I want to fill myself. I'm hungry with this thing I'm hungry for. It is therefore a great mistake to think that ambition is life. Hunger is not life. It is merely the stimulus which HaKadosh Baruch Hu planted in his creatures in order to remind them to do the things necessary to keep themselves alive. Similarly, all ambitions are kinds of hungers. They are the emissaries of the heart's inclinations for good and for evil. So hunger isn't, what he's saying is, hunger is not the purpose of life. I'm not born to get X amount of toys in the world, and the person with the X amount of toys, wins the race. That's not, no. Hunger is a way to make progress in life. I'm hungry to contribute to the world in a certain way. I'm hungry to, it doesn't have to be a bad thing. It doesn't have to be a bad thing. I'm hungry to learn. I'm hungry to grow. It could even be, I'm hungry to be a CEO. I want to be a CEO because I think I could do a job like that. Well, that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. Be a CEO. I'm hungry to be a neurosurgeon. You're hungry to be a neurosurgeon? Go for it. That's fine. But that's not life. Hunger is part of life. You have intellectual curiosity. You're hungry to fill it in with more learning, whether it's secular learning or Jewish learning. But it's not do you follow what I'm saying? Hunger is part of life, but it's not the purpose of life. Does everybody follow that? Any questions? Okay, and God put that hunger in us. He put that hunger in us, and there are all kinds of hungers, good ones and bad ones. But if we look at the animal kingdom and we see the difference between animals and people, we see that hungry animals eat until they are satisfied and do not eat again until they are hungry once more. Now, first of all, that's not something that we can say about ourselves. We eat because we're ambitious to eat, because I'm like, more chocolate is better than less chocolate. No, isn't that the truth? Okay, great. And so I don't crave that chocolate. I don't want that chocolate because I'm hungry. I want that chocolate because it's there, right? Now, those of you who crave bean sprouts, more power to you. Go for the, I don't know. That's what I crave, right? I have a daughter who taught her children to think vegetables were a treat. Oh, you want a treat? I'll give you a red pepper. Oh, wow. They thought that was the greatest, they still eat very healthily. But if you look at the animal kingdoms, hunger only depends on hunger. A lion doesn't kill an animal unless he's hungry. That's his instinct. A leopard doesn't kill an anger. The leopard doesn't kill a kangaroo or maybe a elephant unless he's hungry. But a human being never suffers. He's not like that. A human being is not like that. Human being suffers from the swine, the pig, is perhaps an exception. For a pig eats all the time and it's seemingly never satisfied. The human being suffers from the same disease. He who loves money will never have sufficient money. He is eternally hungry. And it's not only the hunger for money that dominates him continuously. It is the same with all physical desires and ambitions. And the more one, okay, so let me talk about that. So human beings are never satisfied. It's never enough. So if you want chocolate, it's never enough chocolate. And if you want bean sprouts, it's never enough bean sprouts. And if you want money, it's never enough money. And if you want love, it's never enough love. I always want more. And if you want hunger for friends, right? I want more friends. In other words, I could go on and on, but we're never satisfied until we stop ourselves. Right? Until we stop ourselves and say, wait, I have enough. And we can stop ourselves, but the natural thing is to just keep wanting. And we're never satisfied. We're eternally hungry until we say, stop, right? Stop being so hungry, you have enough. Whatever that is. I used to love to buy pots. Don't ask me why. I don't like to cook, but I like pots. But I like eating and I like pots. I don't know, but the part in the between where you have to cook, but I don't know, at a certain point in time, you say, I got enough pots, right? How much pots can you put in your drawer? So I got big ones, I got little ones, and your family size changes. So I started out with little ones, I got to bigger ones, now I'm back to little ones, but you still need the big ones because they come. Okay, so there's always need, but you can manage with less pots, okay? Right? I said that, Elizabeth, because I'm looking at you with your pot story. So anyway, so it's never enough for us and that's something God implanted in us, but it's human nature. He's not saying it's a sin. He's saying that is the way we're built. And physical desire is the same thing. It's never going to be enough. And it's never going to be enough for my physical pleasures. I'll get whatever that is. I'll, I don't know. If one's satisfied, it is hungry. So now it says, it is the same with all physical desires and ambitions. The more one attempts to satisfy them, the more intense the hunger becomes. The more you give it, the more it wants. If one satisfies it, it is hungry, as the rabbi said, of one form of physical desire. Now, it's pretty obvious that the form of physical desire referred to in that Gemara is sex, right? That the more you have, the more you want. Now, again, I don't know if this works for women the same way, but apparently this is how it works for men. The Gemara speaks about it, speaks about King David. King David had 18 wives. And you say to yourself, really? Aren't you tired? But right? Aren't you tired? Really? And this Gemara actually says that even when he was sick, he satisfied all 18 wives. Now, again, I don't necessarily relate to that, but the more you feed it, the more you want. Do you follow what I'm saying? That's the idea. So the Gemara uses that about the sexual desire, but it is true of all physical things. Even I remember when we were renovating Sharim, because it was just an apartment in an Israeli building. You get into the and part of the renovation was we renovated our apartment because we moved to a different apartment, and that was kind of the deal. We let the school use our apartment, renovated for the school. We moved to a different apartment and renovated for our use. So I remember, you get in that renovation mood and you're running for tiles and you're running for trim and you're running for sinks and you're running, and it's all, and you're running and you spend a whole year running. And then you get in that mode. And then you need, now I want new beds. And now I remember thinking to myself, stop. Because there's only so much, first of all, you can afford. And say, well, you need. There's only so much you need. At some point, stop. And by the way, I say that about myself because I'm Dafka, not that kind of person who loves to decorate, like to live in a neat, clean house, but not a decorator type. But you get into it, and then you have to stop yourself.
I'm sorry, I just don't get this concept. When you eat, I'm full, and when I have chocolate, I can't eat more because if you eat too much at one time, it starts to taste bad and you get a stomach ache. So I'm just having trouble grasping this concept.
Okay, so Miriam, I could use a different
Lucky
example.
her.
Yeah, lucky her.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I can overeat, but not at one time. I guess
Miriam, this is why you're skinny. Okay, so none of us empathize with you, but okay. Here, but I'll give you a different example. You're very ambitious professionally. Right. And so the more you do, the more you want, and the more you write papers, and the more you know, at a certain point in time, Mary, because you're raising a family, you have to say stop. Okay, so that might be an example that you could use in your life.
That is a really good example for me. I don't want to stop. So that is a good example.
And so, you know, there's this great ambition to fill myself with more not success for success's sake, but I know you're a very intellectual person, and you want more and more and more and more. I know that. But stop, because your kids need you. And you
It's stimulus. It's a stimulus.
It's stimulus. So it does, on the one hand, propel us forward in life, as it did you, Miriam. And it did me, for that matter. You know, I'm in a situation I'm in because I'm also ambitious. But at a certain point in time, did you have enough? Stop.
Need a balance.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, so that's a good example for you, Miriam. And, you know, I don't want to talk to you about food ever again. Okay, so
Well, I didn't mean it like that. Like
I know, Miriam. I know. I actually do consult with Miriam. She's a wonderful pharmacologist, right? That's
Yeah, pharmacist. Yeah.
Pharmacist or pharmacologist?
Pharmacist.
Pharmacist. She's a
Yeah.
wonderful pharmacist. So I do consult with her, and she's given me very good advice. So there you go. So if we reflect further, we may note how Hashem has mercy on the pig and increased its food supply in proportion to its appetite. Its food is available everywhere since it eats other creatures' refuge. So God created the pig with an endless appetite, and he created refuge that's endless in this world. Okay? And so you could say that God has mercy on the pig. And if you wish, you may see in this an example of the wonders of God's creation. The constant hunger of the pig is meant as cleaning the world of unwanted refuge. In fact, the pig suffers no pain from its hunger. On the contrary, since it is always able to appease it, its life is one of continuous pleasure. But this is not the case with the man who hungers for that which his Yetzer craves. What he yearns for is far beyond his reach. Meaning, while the pig is never unhappy, and he's never full, and he's never overeaten because he can always eat more, right? I understand this. He can always eat more, but we human beings, we are really pigs. We never have enough, right? We're always hungry. Whatever it is you're hungry for in your life, and everybody's hungry. Listen, I know women that are hungry for children, you know, and they could have 10 children, they want 11 children. Now, do I say that that's a good thing or bad? Like I think it's a wonderful thing, but do you know what I'm saying? It depends if they're able to take care of their children. Like we all hunger for different things. We all hunger for different things. So, but what gets us in trouble, and a lot, is that we hunger for more and more and more and more and never stop. And that, by the way, is the root of all addictions. All addictions. I want more. I want to fill my hunger. I'm hungry. I want to fill it. I want to fill it with happiness. I want to fill it with satisfaction. I don't feel that in life. And so I'll drug it out, or I'll drink it out, or I'll eat it out, or whatever. So always looking, and sometimes really also workaholics. Workaholics are also like that. Workaholics fill their work, and more work and more work and more work, right? And so at a certain point in time, a workaholic has to learn to stop, go to bed, take a nap, read a book, stop. Don't get a heart attack. Not worth it. Do you follow? So we all have our addictions. We all have our, things that we're not satisfied, and we've got to fight a battle. We've got to fight a very heavy battle, and expend great effort to attain even a small part of what he craves. And even if he lives many years, he will never achieve even half of it. As our rabbis say, no man leaves this world with half his desires fulfilled, right? that, an ambitious person, and we're all ambitious for some things, right? Will never get enough. Some people are ambitious for vacations, or do you follow, or time off, or I don't know. Everybody's got their own thing, and I could give countless examples, but maybe it would be boring for some of you. But okay, so no one leaves this world with his desires filled. So now, if, we're not going to get to it today, but like, as Nicole pointed out, and I don't want to leave that point unaddressed, if my desires, if my hunger is for spiritual growth, right? So then I'm also going to go after that and after that and after that. And please God, when I'm 70, when I'm 80, when I'm 90, I'll still be hungry. I'll still be looking to follow. I'll still be wanting to fill that, right? And so that kind of ambition is a good ambition. Does everybody follow? Now, some people, and somebody mentioned here, she suffers more from inertia. And that is also a hunger to actually, for some people, inertia is a hunger. Right? I don't have enough free time. I don't have enough time to lounge around. You follow? And then I have to, have to push myself out of that ambition. Do you know what I'm saying? I once had somebody stay in my house, and I love this person very much. And she had all these plans that fell through. So she ended up staying in my house for 2 or 3 weeks and doing nothing. I never saw anybody do nothing for so long. I was like she said, no, she sat in my living. I love her. She sat in my living room. She crocheted, and she was on her tablet, and she read a book, and then she crocheted some more, and then she read a tablet, and she was in a book. I'm like, I go crazy. Me personally, because I'm the other one, workaholic type. Stop and take a break. And then I'm like, well, what do I do with that time? What do I do with that hour? Okay, so here's what I'm doing. I teach on Zoom. That's what I do. So don't leave me, my friends. You're my plaything. You're my toy. So, I love you too. So you understand, like, so you try to fill your thing with good things, just so, yes, Nancy. So being on, for me also, by the way, being in a lockdown or COVID situation has forced me to relax, and I had to learn what am I going to do with my time. I'm still trying to figure it out a little bit. I kind of like that I have it, but I'm still trying to figure out what's a good use of that time. And so, yes, but if you don't keep your eyes open, your ambition could
Sharing, he's sharing, learning.
Yeah, that's true. No, but you know what? My problem is late at night, like, 8:30 when I'm too tired to think. My time anyway. I'm like, okay, what do I do now? And and I don't want to really waste my time. Okay, I'm not gonna share all my problems with you because, then you won't respect me anymore. Okay, so I'm just gonna finish this thing. I know we're running a little late, but maybe okay, no, maybe we'll stop here.